because of the shooting. He has since recovered and is cooperating with authorities during this investigation. A thorough review of all available evidence, which includes videotape surveillance, and based on that review of all of the evidence, including that video, it is our position, based on the facts, the evidence, and the law, that the officers involved in this incident did not have provocation or justification to shoot the unarmed victim during this incident. The evidence does not support the use of deadly force related to the shooting of the unarmed victim and was not lawful. Upon the reporting of this incident by the detective and the officer who are charged, they made representations to legal authorities, including the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, that was directly contradicted by the videotaped evidence. The Cook County State's Attorney's Office is committed to justice and fairness, and that's what brings us here today. And we do not take this great responsibility lightly, nor do we celebrate in the charging of police officers. I want to be clear. We support the hardworking men and women of the Chicago Police Department who, like many law enforcement partners across Cook County, face dangers every day to keep us safe. We respect their courage and their commitment. With regard to this particular case, we cannot ignore or stand by acts of unprovoked violence, even at the hands of those who are sworn to serve and protect our communities. As I said earlier, we cannot answer specific questions related to the facts and evidence of this case. However, further information will be provided to you and presented at the bail hearing at noon this afternoon, and a full reading of the bond proffer will be made available to the press immediately thereafter. With that, I'll take your questions.
Can you just spell the names?
Sure. Christopher, C-H-R-I-S-T-O-P-H-E-R, Liakopoulos, L-I-A-K-O-P-O-U-L-O-S. And then Officer Rubin, R-U-B-E-N, Reynoso, R-E-Y-N-O-S-O.
Can you say which one fired the shot that injured the unarmed person?
Both officers are being charged with having fired their shots.
Were shots ever fired at police during this incident?
They were. There were shots fired in response to the initial shooting by police.
So, I'm sorry, so you're saying the police officer shot first and then the other?
The evidence that will be presented in bond court will, as indicated by the videotape evidence, will depict the shooting of the police officers first.
Can you tell us now if the reason why they initiated any contact with the people in front of the store that day?
That will be detailed in great detail at the bond hearing.
One more question. Was there any other charges filed in this case against anybody else other than the officer?
There's a continuing investigation related to the juvenile involved in this case.
So now that the officers are charged, will the defendants now be let go? Like, I know, or if they're still in custody, I know they were initially pre-charged, right? So those charges be dropped now? What happens now?
There's been an ongoing and a continuing investigation regarding the juvenile related to this incident.
So in essence, the officers lied about their role at the scene?
The officers today are being charged with official misconduct based on statements that they made to authorities that was contradicted by the evidence in this case. That information will be fully fleshed out at the bond hearing today.
And can you also say the other two charges, please? Which misconduct?
Yes, ma'am. Aggravated battery with a firearm and aggravated discharge of a firearm.
Were they wearing their body cameras when they turned on?
The evidence that we have is videotape evidence from around the area, not body-worn camera.
Do you know if they were wearing them and just didn't activate them?
There was no body-worn camera in this instance.
Do you know if they attempted to render any aid to the unarmed victim who was shot?
I can't speak to that, Charlie.
I just want to clarify what you just, there were shots fired at the police first.
No, I didn't say that at all. That's why we're here today.
Just clarify, just kind of run through the events again. So what happened? The cops come to the scene, and then what?
So again, this will be fully fleshed out at the bond hearing, but preliminarily, what I can tell you, because again, we want to afford these two who are presumed innocent until found guilty in a court of law, their due justice, that the officers reported to authorities that they were fired upon first. That information has been directly contradicted by videotape evidence.
Can you say how many people were actually hit during this incident?
We have one victim who I described earlier today, and there was another person who was the subject of a graze wound.
Can you clarify for me then, okay, so officers fired the first shots, you say. Who fired back then? Was that
The victim in this case that I described to you, who was shot by the police officers who are being charged today, was unarmed and did not fire a weapon.
who did fire a weapon?
Not the victim in this case.
Did the person who had the graze wound have a weapon? Did they fire the weapon?
No.
So I know at the time the juvenile shooter that you mentioned was not in custody. Can you say when they were apprehended?
That information will again be revealed in bond court, but not in custody at this time.
Can you say what the officers were doing in the area at the time that this all unfolded? Were they summoned to the scene, or were they just on their own doing something else?
The officers were in the area unrelated to anything related to the scene, made observations, and that's how they remained on the scene.
And you said the victim who was hit is a 23-year-old male?
Yes.
See how long the officers have been on the job?
Sergeant says 2001, and the officer says 2003.
Any further questions?
Did they have have they ever fired their weapons before?
I can't speak to that.
Had they had any other misconduct and charges against them?
What I can tell you is that they've never had criminal charges levied against them. As their discipline record, I don't have that information available.
And videotape captured all of this?
Yes.
Can you say when the last time Chicago police officers were charged with similar crimes?
Similar crimes.
Aggravated battery, aggravated discharge of a weapon, unrelated victim?
On an unrelated victim?
Unarmed victim.
You know, off the top of my head, Charlie, I can't tell you. I do know that this office has filed charges related to an incident that happened at the Red Line a couple of years ago. We have also filed charges related to a case a couple years ago involving an Amtrak officer and a victim who was running away. So under this administration, this is not the first time that we have filed these charges. I can't tell you the date specific of the last time that we have done so, but we have filed charges where the facts, the evidence, and the law support it.
That's it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Will there be a written version of?
There will be a written version of the proffer that's already been filed at 26 in California, and again, there will be a recitation of that proffer for reporters immediately thereafter.
Mailed out the proper?
I can give it to you.
We will email out the proffer to